Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another video. Today we're going to be watching a video, The Satisfying Downfall of Tim Horton. As a Canadian, I feel as though Canadian Tire, Tim Hortons has definitely gone down in quality. Will this be the downfall? Will greed be the killer? I'm assuming that's what it is. It's got to be greed. That's the only thing that ever destroys anything. So yeah, let's figure out what the downfall is. And if you're Canadian, let me know what your guys' experience with Tim Hortons has been lately, and if you miss the old Tim Hortons. So yeah, let's get straight into this. Yeah.
For decades, it was more than just coffee and donuts. It was a morning ritual, a community hub, a symbol of Canadian identity itself. But today, the brand once so beloved that Canadians abroad would beg visitors to bring them Tim Hortons coffee is facing unprecedented backlash, declining market share, and a crisis of identity. How did a company so deeply woven into Canada's national fabric
I would still say Canadian. Why do I want to say Canadian Tire? Tim Hortons is definitely still like a part of Canada. Like it's part of its history. I feel at this point. I feel like a lot of people would also say that the quality went downhill once they were bought out by an American company. I wonder also if Tim Hortons in America is the same as Tim Hortons in Canada.
go from beloved institution to public punching bag, from cultural icon to cautionary tale? That's what we're unpacking today, and I promise you this story contains lessons every business needs to hear about what happens when you sacrifice authenticity for growth.
I feel like sometimes less but higher quality is better than more and lower quality. I think that's actually just always better, in my opinion.
To understand Tim Hortons' spectacular fall from grace, we need to go back to its humble beginnings. The year is 1964, the Beatles are taking America by storm, Canada adopts its new maple leaf flag, and in Hamilton, Ontario, a hockey player named Tim Horton opens a small coffee and donut
Okay, I didn't know it was from a hockey player. That's interesting.
shop. Tim Horton wasn't just any hockey player. He was a four-time Stanley Cup champion with the
Okay, it's funny. I'm Canadian, but I just don't watch hockey, so I don't know anything about really any hockey players.
Toronto Maple Leafs, a beloved sports figure with a vision beyond the ice. His simple business model, fresh coffee and donuts made from scratch on premises,
See, I wonder how Tim Hortons would be if they brought back like the fresh stuff, not just pre-made frozen donuts or whatever they have now.
served with a smile and a welcoming atmosphere at affordable prices. Little did he know he was creating what would become Canada's most powerful cultural institution. What happened next is a remarkable story of how a simple coffee shop became interwoven with a nation's sense of self. After Tim Horton's tragic death in a car accident in 1974, his business partner, Ron Joyce, expanded the chain across Canada with a
Was Ron Joyce the man to ruin Tim Hortons? Question mark. We're about to find out.
laser focus on three principles. And here comes our first foundation principle: authenticity above all. While American chains raced to expand menus and boost prices, Tim Hortons kept things simple: coffee, donuts, and friendly service at reasonable prices.
Coffee, donuts. I wonder when they started adding like the chili and stuff.
Their marketing wasn't flashy. It centered around everyday Canadians gathering for moments of connection.
Did you know? I'm pretty sure I saw a video about it once. The farmers wraps, like one farmers wrap has like half the sodium you're supposed to have a day, or a bit over half of sodium you're supposed to have in a day.
The famous roll up the rim to win contest
I heard they got rid of that. Like it's all digital now.
turned buying coffee into a national event. Tim Hortons didn't try to become Canadian. It simply was Canadian. Canadian Cultural Historian 2010. Here comes our second foundational principle: community first. Tim Hortons wasn't just in communities, it was part of them. The company launched the Timbits Minor Sports Program, supporting children's hockey teams across the country.
I believe they still do that, and I think that's really good to be able to support future generation hockey players. After all, Canada supposedly is the best teams out there, and we gotta keep that reputation going.
By the 1990s, many Canadians had their first jobs, first dates, and daily rituals at their local Timmy's. It wasn't unusual for small towns to celebrate when they finally got their first Tim Hortons. Foundational principle number 3: consistency and familiarity. From Vancouver to Halifax, a double coffee
I still remember when I lived in Fort Nelson, British Columbia, Canada, when I was a lot younger. We had a Dunkin' Donuts, and it wasn't too bad. It's like a no-name brand version of Tim Hortons. And then we finally got a Tim Hortons, and the town of like 4,000 people were all freaking out. They're like, "Yeah, finally a Tim Hortons!" And then the manager of Dunkin' Donuts, like a couple months later, something like that, tried to burn the place down and claim it for insurance. Yeah, good times.
tasted the same. Tim Hortons became a reliable constant in an ever-changing world. By the year 2000, Tim Hortons wasn't just successful, it had become something far more powerful, a cornerstone of Canadian identity. But in 1995, a decision was made that would ultimately change everything. Tim Hortons merged with Wendy's
Oh, okay. So it was Wendy's they merged with.
International, an American fast food corporation. At first, not much changed. Sales continued to grow, but behind the scenes, the company's priorities were shifting. Then in
Yeah, because like you said earlier in the video, the Americans with fast foods were trying to like pew 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 things out and make new things and do all this stuff. Of course, you're gonna want to do it now to Timmy's.
2014, the bombshell. Tim Hortons was acquired by Brazilian investment firm 3G Capital, which merged it with Burger King to
What
form
the?
Restaurant Brands
Excuse me.
International.
What the
And
flip?
here comes our first crucial mistake, prioritizing global expansion over brand identity.
Yeah, once you lose your identity, what are you? You're a shell of your former self.
Former Tim Hortons executive James Richardson explains what happened next. The new ownership saw Tim Hortons not as a beloved cultural institution, but as an unexploited asset with international potential.
See, the problem is all these outside forces called America. When they bought Tim Hortons, they only saw it as a more a form of more money. They didn't see it as like they didn't grow up Canadian, so they don't see it as a Canadian like history kind of thing. They just see it as another building to make money. I don't think Tim Hortons should have ever sold it to anyone who was outside of Canada or who hasn't lived in Canada and learned what it's like to be Canadian and have the history of Tim Hortons like going to that in the mornings or whatever.
What followed was a radical departure from everything that had made Tim Hortons successful. The changes came rapidly and relentlessly, beginning with the core product itself. Transformation error number 1, abandoning quality for cost cutting. To boost profits, the new owners centralized production, eliminating in-store baking. Donuts and pastries that were once made fresh daily now arrive frozen to be reheated.
Yeah, like what's the point? Like obviously people are still gonna buy it. You're taking away like quality, man. It's just frustrating. And it's not just Tim Hortons, obviously. Lots of places are lowering quality. And not just food, obviously. Every place is just lowering quality to get more money. And people just gobble it up.
The coffee
Obviously, I can't say anything. From time to time, I'll still have Tim Hortons. But, like, it's just frustrating.
recipe was adjusted, menu items proliferated in an attempt to compete with everyone from McDonald's to Starbucks, and price
Ice caps have also gotten bloody expensive. Get like a medium ice cap, it's just about $5. I'm like, what the flip? Chill out, my guy. It's ice and coffee.
prices began to creep upward. Longtime customers noticed immediately. Social media is filled with complaints about declining quality and rising prices. Transformation error number 2, corporate culture collapse. Inside the company, the changes were even more dramatic. 3G Capital implemented zero-based budgeting, essentially requiring every expense to be rejustified from scratch each year. Franchise owners, many of whom had been with the company for decades, revolted as their costs increased while support decreased. In 2018, a group of them filed a class action lawsuit against the parent company. They took the soul out of the company. It became all about numbers. Anonymous 20-year-old
The moment your company's all about numbers is the moment you're selling it up for. Oh, I dropped my cup. You're selling it up for failure. If you were going to make a company, I think that's the problem. Like with a lot of family companies, they put like their soul into everything they do. And then you get these later on, if they become popular enough, you end up getting these billion-dollar people coming in and buying it out. And majority of them get bought out, and then they take the soul out, and it's just soulless. It's really really sad at the end of the day.
Tim Hortons franchise owner, 2018. The breaking point came in January 2018. After Ontario raised its minimum wage, several Tim Hortons franchise owners cut employee benefits and paid breaks to offset costs. The public reaction was swift and
I think that's one of the downsides to minimum wage going up, which is all the big companies are gonna just increase their wages or their prices, and it sucks because obviously minimum wage is designed for you to be able to live off of. just barely. We don't live in that world anymore. And when minimum wage goes up, everything else goes up, but other people's wages don't go up. From when I started at my current job, minimum wage was just about 12 bucks an hour, and now it's just about what my starting wage at my work is. And I have yet to get a raise from the cost of minimum wage going up. And I think a lot of people can feel that, and hence why a lot of people are against minimum wage going up. But it's just part of inflation, and it's just also just it's quite frustrating. Like just the whole thing about it. Back to Tim Hortons.
Devastating. Hashtag boycott Tim Hortons trended nationwide. For perhaps the first time in its history, Tim Hortons found itself cast as a villain in the Canadian story. The numbers speak for themselves. Brand reputation ranking fell from number 4 to number 50th in Canada.
That's really, really rough.
Customer satisfaction dropped 25%, stock price declined 12.4% while competitors grew, and the market share dropped from 42% to 27% of the Canadian coffee market.
At what point, like, how much money do the billion-dollar soulless humans have to lose before they're like, maybe let's cut it back a little bit here and maybe go back to the roots of that brand, you know? But of course they wouldn't. They would just start firing people and blaming it on others. And
The company that had built its brand on being always fresh now faced fresh rounds of humiliation with each new initiative. Beyond Meat sandwiches appeared briefly before disappearing. An attempt at innovation centers failed to recreate the sense of community. Designer lattes and expensive cups couldn't bring back customer loyalty. Transformation era number 3, hollow nationalism. In a desperate attempt to reconnect with Canadians, marketing campaigns became aggressively patriotic, but rang hollow against the backdrop of declining quality and
you can try and mask that you're a hardcore Canadian. Like this, the Tim Hortons is a Canadian brand. It's all about Canada. But that's not going to bring Canadians back into the doors. I feel like a lot of the times people think people are stupid. And people are stupid, don't get me wrong. You can't just try and put a mask on a leak or like a tape over a leak when people know there's a leak.
corporate practices. Marketing professor Sarah Thompson explained why this backfired. They were trying to sell Canadians their own identity through increasing desperate patriotic messaging while simultaneously dismantling what made the brand authentically Canadian. The story of Tim Hortons' fall from grace.
See, the problem is Tim Hortons will never be completely Canadian. It's now Canadian in US. The only way to get it fully Canadian is if you somehow merge it only back to Canada or have the higher ups, like on the Canada side, only be Canadian kind of thing. I don't know. I just feel like Americans don't understand to the grasp of what it's like to have a Tim Hortons as much as a Canadian does.
Isn't just about coffee
Is that I feel like that's a fair statement.
and donuts. It's a cautionary tale about the dangers of prioritizing short-term profits over long-term brand equity. And here comes our first business lesson.
I think that's a lot of problem with also society in general with everything is everyone looks for the short-term benefits, and they sort of ignore the potential long-term destruction or ignore what you could have done if you just waited a long term. Everyone wants things to do now kind of thing. Sometimes I think we need to take a step back and think long term, not just oh right now kind of thing.
Authenticity can't be faked. For decades, Tim Hortons didn't have to try to be authentic. It simply was. The minute it began trying to convince customers of its Canadianness while operating against Canadian values, the disconnect became obvious. Customers don't just buy your product, they buy into your story. When that story becomes inauthentic, they feel betrayed. Business lesson number 2. Cultural capital has real value. Tim Hortons' cultural significance wasn't just a nice marketing angle. It was its most valuable asset. The new owners treated this cultural capital as inexhaustible, something that could be leveraged indefinitely without reinvestment. They treated the emotional connection Canadians had with Tim Hortons as something they could withdraw from endlessly without making deposits back. Canadian Business Journal, 2020. And here comes business lesson number 3. You can't cost cut your way to growth. The relentless focus on efficiency and cost cutting created financial gains in the short term.
Note to self for anyone who wants to do business: don't cost cut. Sometimes you just got to pay a little bit more for a better quality. You never can go wrong with quality over quantity, like I said earlier.
But destroyed the very qualities that had made the brand valuable in the first place. As business strategist Peter Drucker famously said, the purpose of a business is to create and keep a customer. In focusing on the first part, Tim Hortons forgot the second. So what comes next for this fall?
I think at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with adding new things to your store, revamping things and stuff, as long as you're not forgetting, obviously, quality.
All in Canadian icon. Can Tim Hortons
Like, imagine if they made all the chili and soup and donuts in Tim Hortons all fresh. Like they had a night shift. I guess they're open 24/7, but like have a shift of people who just work on that stuff and just have everything fresh. And if those donuts don't get eaten within that day, then or however long it would be, just get new donuts already made.
find its way back into the nation's heart? Recent signs suggest the company may have finally recognized the magnitude of its mistakes. New leadership has pledged to refocus on coffee and baked goods. There's talk of bringing back in-store baking and improving
If they do bring that back, that would be huge.
coffee quality. For Tim Hortons to reclaim its position as a national treasure, it needs to
Why was that woman see-through?
first off recommit to quality over expansion. The fundamentals, coffee and donuts, need to be excellent again, not just convenient. Number 2, restore authentic community connections. Stop telling Canadians you're Canadian. Show them through meaningful community investment. Number 3, rebuild trust with franchise owners. The frontline representatives of the brand need to believe in it again. Number 4, practice patience. Cultural capital takes years to build and moments to destroy. Rebuilding will require consistent investment over time. And finally, number 5,
Do they still do hockey cards at Tim Hortons? I remember when I was younger, every time I saw a hockey card available, I was like, oh man, I totally want to buy one if I had money, but I'm a kid. I can't do that.
embrace true values, not just valuable imagery. Canadian identity
I still think I have a bunch of hockey cards just in a bag somewhere. Really, really old hockey cards.
isn't just maple leaves and hockey, it's about fairness, community, and quality. The story of Tim Hortons isn't over. Brands can fall, but they can also rise again. The question is whether the company can rediscover the authentic spirit that made it a national treasure to begin with. Tim Hortons didn't just sell coffee to Canadians, it sold Canadians a better version of themselves. To succeed again, it needs to become that better version too. Canadian Cultural Critic 2023. So the next time you drive past those familiar red and yellow signs, remember, you're not just looking at a coffee shop, you're looking at a case study in how even the strongest brands can falter when they forget what made them special in the first place. Now, if you found value in this video,
Yeah, wonderful video. Wonderful video. If you guys liked this video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Yeah, so I think if they do bring back the baking stuff, like fresh donuts, get some like fresh chili, just do everything fresh again. I think that would a lot more customers in door. People want fresh. I think a lot of people are getting tired of low quality, chemical covered food. I think we're in a phase of where people just want healthy food, not some false advertisement of healthy. And let me know what you guys think. If you're in Canada, out of Canada, have you had Tim Hortons? Did you like it? Are you old and watching this video? Do you remember the old Tim Hortons? What do you miss about it? What do you hope they bring back? Everything, guys. Chat it up in the chat. I want to know what your guys' viewpoints on this are. Did I say some stupid stuff? Probably. Let me know. I'm not the most intelligent man out there, but hey. You guys have a good one, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye!